South Carolina gets the big win, 41-7, gets their first win on the season. I'll ask you, because I'm sure you saw my clip at halftime. Gamecocks started sluggishly, 10-0 lead at half, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, God. Like, I mean, the worst thoughts are going through my head. I really didn't think Vanderbilt could move the football in South Carolina. I mean, I talked all week going in the game, and I said on Friday when I gave my prediction, you look at the roster, who scares you on Vanderbilt's roster? I mean, they have nobody. And I'm not trying to take away from the win or anything, but I think we can all agree they're the worst team in the SEC by far. They've got to be one of the worst Power 5 teams in the country. I don't think they win a game. But I'll ask you, I'm just curious, what were your thoughts at the half? Because, again, we can laugh about it now. Gamecocks pull away. They score 31 points in the second half. But was there any feelings of uneasiness from your side at the half?
I'll say this. It was no, because it just didn't look like anybody on their team really wanted to be there.
Right.
Look, I don't blame them. If you're not very good and it's just pouring rain outside, like, why would you want to be standing there?
I'll ask you on that note, did that game have a weird vibe to you? Like
it did.
It had like I was like, I said this in the halftime update that I gave. I was like, this is what 2 0-2 teams at noon in the rain, like this is what you would expect. Like I had somebody comment, they said it feels like a high school game. And I was like, not necessarily the talent on the field, but just like the vibe of it. Like it was almost like a game you had to get yourself up for it. Like you had to wake 100%. Yourself up almost.
100%. And I don't know how much of that is, 2 0-2 teams sitting there. Also, it's just pouring rain outside. Right. And then 2, like there's no fans, so there's no energy.
Yeah, there were literally zero fans because Vandy's not letting anybody in, I think, except students. But it's like, dude, nobody wants to go to their games anyways. So
no. And so I didn't go into halftime feeling like, oh God, we're in for a roller coaster here. Right. I just thought it was going to be just kind of a sloppy grind to the end because even though we were up 10-0, Vandy made some ill-advised plays, I thought, in the first half. Them missing a field goal, going for it on 4th down, those types of like kind of inside the 5 that just didn't work to their favor. So you look at that 10-0 score and you're like, well, it could be a little bit different. Let's see how they play in the second half. And then I have no idea what they said at halftime, but that was a completely different South Carolina squad out there in the second half.
Yeah, I'll ask you because we're going to dive into specifics, but I want to ask you just as far as a blanket statement because, I thought someone that called into my show, it was one of the listener voicemails on Monday's show. They put it beautifully. They said, you know what? It's Vanderbilt. We all understand, but I'm going to appreciate this win. And that's really how I looked at it. Again, there were a lot of people on social media, oh, it's Vandy. Oh, and I totally agree to an extent, but at the same time, anytime you go on the road and you really just impose your will and you dominate an SEC opponent, it's something to pat yourself on the back and feel good about, at least for a little bit. And I mean, how many times have we seen a South Carolina team that was supposed to dominate or we thought was going to dominate or thought going to win the game and they didn't do it, right? So, I mean, you appreciate the win. You understand it was 2 0-2 teams. You understand it was Vanderbilt. You understand what the task was at hand. And it only gets tougher from here because I talked about you really needed to use that game against Vandy to get some confidence and build some momentum because now, Alex, this is your stretch. You got Auburn at home, at LSU, Texas A&M at home, and then at Ole Miss. 4 straight West opponents that all 4 are going to be very, very tricky games for sure. But I'll ask you, because I said, how much did we really learn from Saturday's game, I guess? But I'll ask you, overall, 41-7 win. Was there anything you saw on Saturday that you learned about this football team that maybe you didn't know coming in? Or was it all kind of just things you already knew that you were just reassured about from that win against Vandy?
Well, I mean, there's certainly something I think we all can take away from this is that the way we started the season as running back by committee, that has been put to bed. So Kevin Harris is definitely the go-to guy from now on. But as far as learning anything, no. I mean, and like I said, I mean, like it's for confidence reasons, that's awesome that we were able to just beat down a conference opponent like that. At the same time, it was just like we were just imposing our will in the second half, just kind of scoring in, whatever ways we wanted to. To your point, with the next 4 opponents coming up, that's not going to be the case.
Right.
So more than anything else, I've talked to several buddies about this, just, looking at the Alabama Ole Miss game from this weekend and just, they're just running up and down the field on each other. this is important from an execution standpoint, because what you didn't have this year was a full spring practice, probably a full fall practice, and you didn't get to play, Coastal to warm up with, or you didn't get to play Charleston
Carolina.
Southern to warm, East Carolina, any of those teams to warm up against. So, from an execution standpoint, and getting reps, that's incredibly important to build that confidence that that you've executed this play more than once successfully now. And so now you've kind of got that in the back of your mind as you go into these what are ostensibly more difficult contests.